Hello, friends. Jeff Casala, Director of Discipleship here at St. Mary in Hales Corners. I'm here once again to talk a bit more on the topic of intentional discipleship, and especially on the first of the 5 thresholds of discipleship that Sherry Waddell speaks about in her book, Forming Intentional Disciples. The first threshold is initial trust. It's defined as when a person develops a positive feeling or connection with Jesus, the church, or a Christian believer. This often happens through acts of kindness or a good experience, which then creates a bridge to faith. When I think of this threshold, I'm often reminded of the story of the Samaritan woman at the well in the Gospel of John. In that scripture passage, we find Jesus in the city of Sychar in Samaria. He's at a well, resting around noontime. A Samaritan woman comes to the well to draw water, and Jesus asks her for a drink. This is indeed an odd occurrence, as Jews and Samaritans would have had little contact with each other in that day and age. In fact, for Jews traveling to a destination on the other side of Samaria, rather than go through Samaria, they would plot a course much longer to go around it. They did not want to interact with the Samaritans one bit. So it's a bit odd that we find Jesus, a Jew, here in Sychar, interacting with a Samaritan, and a woman at that. And since the woman is coming to draw water in the middle of the day, we can begin to wonder about her behavior and background. She's not at the well in the cool of the morning, when other women would have been taking care of this task. Instead, perhaps she's drawing water in the heat of the midday because she doesn't want to interact with other women from her town. It begs us to wonder what the other women thought of her and what her own life was like. In the midst of this conversation, the woman develops an initial trust in Jesus, who dares to speak to her, a Samaritan, a woman, and clearly a marginalized person in society. But instead of shrinking from his presence, perhaps running away or simply ignoring him, she is interested. She's intrigued. She begins to trust him. She's curious about what he is telling her, and most especially about the way that he is listening to her, listening as if she really mattered to him. This story is a great example of that first threshold of trust. I'd like to share a similar experience from my own life. While I was baptized as an infant and went on to celebrate the sacraments of initiation as a child and a teen, there became a time in my life as a young adult that I was a bit distanced from Jesus and his church. It was a time in my life where I had a different vocation as well. It was different from the present one here working in the church. It was at this time that I was, like many of you, searching for happiness and fulfillment in life. It's just that I was looking for that happiness and fulfillment in many different places. Then, one evening in the fall of 2002, while we were living in the Fox Cities in Wisconsin, I found myself with my children attending a faith formation orientation at Holy Angels Catholic Church in Darboy, Wisconsin. That evening, I listened to the presentation given by Sister Elise, the Director of Religious Education at the parish. There were all the usual parts to the evening: prayer together, a description of the programs available for religious education, the handbook, the dates and the times that the programming took place. It was a well-planned presentation by someone that I understood to be quite educated in religious education and its programming. But then, near the end of the evening, came an appeal for adults to become teachers or catechists, if you will, in the program. This seemed to be almost a heartfelt plea from the sister, almost as if she needed to mention it, but she didn't expect anyone to take her up on the offer. When the meeting concluded, we were invited to come forward and register our children for the different age-appropriate classes that would begin in a few weeks. It was at that moment that I sought out Sister Elise, and I told her that I wanted to teach. Frankly, I don't know where those words came from, as I hadn't planned on saying it. It just happened. And I was far from qualified. I was far from a deep relationship with Jesus, far from knowing a lot about our faith. And judging by the look on Sister Elise's face, she didn't expect to receive a response to her plea for catechists that night. As I look back on this encounter, one that changed my life and eventually my career, I realized that there was something in the manner of Sister Elise that I trusted, something that I wanted to get to know more about. I sense that she had this deep joy and fulfillment that I was desperately searching for. Perhaps I was the one mission that Sister Elise had been given in life, the one lost sheep to go after. Her one invitation would draw me back to a deeper relationship with Jesus and his church. That encounter would eventually lead to my leaving the secular world for a position in church ministry. It was also a realization that there is so much more that awaits us if we simply dive into a more intentional, intimate relationship with Jesus Christ. A relationship that is life-changing. As we close out this time together, I would encourage you, look back on your life with Jesus. Can you identify the people you have pointed to? Those people who have pointed Jesus out to you or invited you to a deeper relationship with Jesus through his church. I'd love to hear your stories. Feel free to mention names or share that story here. Leave a comment or contact me with your stories. God bless you.